So back in 1713, well, actually, Mr. Brown, who owned the area down here and gave the name Brown's Pond to Brown's Pond,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see Mr. Brown's name down here is John Brown, and it's called Pond's Pond because his son-in-law was Matthew Pond. So if you looked at, let me see if this will work now. Turn off. I need to turn off this now. I need to turn off that. Okay. So if you look, now let me just rotate this so that you can read what is right. Were drawn sort of like crooked, not crooked, but not like how we have. So here is the stream I just showed you coming down towards Mr. Brown's property. Okay.
Right.
Um, so the pond is somewhere in this area. He owned that land. That's how it got its name. Now I'm going to put on the 1722 map, but I have to rotate the map again through 180 because
So this is the
because
this is the
Mayo did
1713 map,
if
the
I can
first one.
try this here. So 180. This is this is the 1722 map.
Okay.
So I got to rotate that through 90. Sorry, beg your pardon. Okay, no, not right. I got to rotate it through minus 90. Sorry. Software, minus
Okay.
90. All right. So if you look now at this map and zoom in, you can see, let me see if I get this up right. You can see down at the bottom that here's the bottom of the water course, and it's called Pond's Pond. So Brown's
Mm-hmm.
Pond has become Pond's Pond. Okay, this is the stream coming down to Pond's Pond or Brown's Pond.
Mm-hmm.
The, it's coming from up here at Three Houses Spring.
Right.
Okay, this is where the actual head of the spring is. It all then flows on over the ground, either
Yes.
to Culpeper or down
Uh-huh.
to Brown's or Pond. Okay, so
Right.
it is not clear from the article where the actual where the actual contamination was found. Was it found in the spring up here, or was it found in the water coming down here? Depending on where it's found, you can figure out probably why there was contamination. So let's look at. Let me rotate. Let me turn on now. Um, the I'm going to rotate this now through again through 90 degrees. Sorry about that, because this map now is how we understand it. Okay. Oops, have we got it done? Zero, zero. All right. So here is now what the water, and here's where the spring would be, somewhere in this area. You
Right.
notice that there's some surface water runoff from before the spring that gets to the water course. So this is up in the Stewart's Hill area. This would be Mount Pleasant. Out here would be Stewart's Hill is yeah, so here beginning. Say I'd say this is Mount Pleasant, but also you get something from the Blades Hill area and the Stewart's Hill area, Mount Pleasant as well. So if you were looking for contamination, if you're looking for the source of contamination, it depends on where you found it first. So if you found it here in the spring, it could be that it is sewage from these developments. It could be that somebody's tied a cow in the area and um, its droppings end up going down the stream. If it isn't in the actual spring and it's further down, then what could it be? So you come along here. This is Golden Grove. So you've got a big pond here. Possible that there might be cows and other animals in this area, but that you would have if you weren't finding and you only found it afterwards, it would mean that all those sources are eliminated. So let's come down a little bit further and see what we see. Here are what looks like two fowl farms. Here's
Mm-hmm.
one it looks as only one battery, and here's the other one with three batteries. Uh, could be that, could be that, but they're only there because the town and country planning has given them permission to be there. I'm
Okay.
sure that there will be regulations that they have to follow to be able to qualify and get certificates of compliance. But these look like there would be might be good candidates for pollution. So the water then comes down and goes into the Brown's Pond area here.
Right.
Now you're not supposed to dam the law from 1713 says you can't dam this flow or you
Mm-hmm.
can't take what you can't do put some sort of contrivance to interfere with the flow. But what the government has done is it's built a pond over here in River Plantation Yard, and it has
Yes.
diverted the water in the pond. And everybody I've spoken to, um, all the technical people, seem to think this is Brown's Pond, but it isn't. It's this down here. Brown's Pond is down
Oh.
here, and it's not really a pond. It's more like a sinkhole into
Mm-hmm.
which the water flows. There's water available in there. So how it was set up was how the act was set up was anybody in the parish could come
Yes.
here and bring their stock, water their stock, get water from it. Um, but obviously, that wasn't a very hygienic or sanitary way um, because you could easily end up with contamination and serious bacteria, the type of bacteria that kills, like cholera or whatever, in
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
water. So here you have Brown's Pond, and it's anywhere upwards, anywhere from if you read the article, the contamination could have been picked up anywhere back in this direction, anywhere.
Right. And if it's
So
anywhere back in that
without the
direction, looking at it, Mr.
actual
Knox, I have a
location of
question.
where the contamination was.
Right. Are you hearing
Sorry,
me? I'm not sure if you're hearing me. I was saying that
I'm hearing you.
listen, yeah, I'm watching these maps and I'm realizing that anytime we build and there, and where we're not supposed to build, or there's a lot of housing and you have these kinds of streams and so on, the possibilities, it to me seem like there's always a possibility that it can be sewage, that is seeping in. And I'm watching your maps and I'm picking up things as you go along, and it seems that way to me. I don't know. Am I right in my assessment?
No, any development should have some sort of a study or something when you're changing the characteristics of the land. The land is porous.
Mm-hmm.
But the contamination that the minister is speaking of occurs in the actual surface runoff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also an underground runoff. And if I were to put on the if I were to put on the let me see, let's see if I can find it. If I were to put on the underground flow lines,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can you pick up the dark blue lines, the royal blue lines? What happens is that this is a catchment area that is getting water from as far up as this looks like. Let me see how the roads look, and then I can figure out where it is. This is coming up into Mount Pleasant. This is Stewart's Hill. Stewart's Hill. So you're
Mm.
getting from Stewart's Hill
Right.
underground. So what is happening is the spring is fed from the underground catchment of water and flow towards the
Uh-huh.
sea. So when it
Uh-huh.
gets under the cliff, it will spring out of the coral. Um, so here you got a lot of development that
Yes.
possibly be a problem. Uh, may not be, not saying it is, but this area here, from here on, the water goes that way. The underground flows go that way to the coast. But from let's see, from this area here, from this area here, it's all coming underground, right? So here is where the spring is coming up. So here you've got your underground flow, and it comes to the surface somewhere around here. So you also have to take into consideration all of this land back here to figure out on these developments to figure out where the contamination is. So if you've got contamination in the actual spring, at the head of the
Mm-hmm.
spring, that basically says this is where this is it's coming from, maybe up in St. Philip and up in St. John almost, maybe down to here. If you've got contamination, this is Golden Grove. If you've got contamination after Golden Grove, then you know that the contamination happens from Golden Grove or before. If
Yes.
you've got contamination at this point, it means that there's a good chance that this full form may be a problem, but not this, because if you look at how the underground flow goes here, this is tending to take the water down the other way, away from it's pretty shallow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the wells in this area are not very deep. And there are many wells, but what groundwater, the water is flowing underground, is concentrating itself
Yes.
over on this side of the field, away from the actual pond at River Plantation
Oh.
Yard.
But
Incidentally,
isn't that a problem?
so
Isn't that a
this is underground water.
uh-huh.
No, it's actually it's actually it's actually a benefit because most of the water is probably going to be underground. If you were to put a well here, you would more or less you would get a lot of water. I don't know how much water.
Okay.
Did some rough calculations. Depends on how much area catchment area there is, and how much falls. But I reckon around 1 million gallons a day. Could be up to 1 million gallons a day. But this is actually holding water by that surface water that runoff, right? When there's a whole lot of water over here,
But
and
can
if
I
you look at
ask
the
you a
freshwater
question? Can
lens
you tell
is
me
set up,
why did the
you can see
government
that the
create
freshwater
that pond
lens
there? Yeah, why did the government create the pond? You
They
remember
did
that?
it for the to catch the water. That was why did that? I think the idea was to try and catch the water that was running off on the surface. So, but the problem with a surface pond, is that evaporation. So, but if you actually are taking the water, if there's water here, and a lot of it, and you take the water from here, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually keep that pond filled. Maybe that's what they're doing right now. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
if you go back to the 1940s, 1946, when Sen did his work, these are the wells that existed then. So obviously somebody knew, had figured out how to do it, and they basically went down here looking for water. This, I think, is the best chance of getting that water over here in this area. If
Yeah.
you look at what these various wells were used for, these wells were used to keep shooting swamps functional. So if I were to turn on the 1951 map series here, this is the pond that the government has expanded. It's a
Mm-hmm.
depression most of the time. This is the pond that the government has expanded
Right.
um, to catch the water from here. But really and
Yeah.
truly, they're breaking the law because, because they're diverting the flow from Brown's Pond. Brown's Pond is down here. That's where they close and walk the rest of the way, and you'll see water coming down here all the time. In fact, uh, when I used to hike a lot, one of the hikers who grew up in the area told me that this particular section here was known as the Suez Canal because because of the water coming down.
Wow, with
There's
so
a
much
hill here.
water.
He told me was known. Yeah, there's a lot of water. It's constant, right? Because what happens is that it's being caught from a large, like I think it's 2,000 acres. It's been caught from all up in some areas of St. John. It's
Mm-hmm.
flowing on the ground. It flows, and then it comes up, and then it comes up. So there's water both overground and
Mm-hmm.
underground.
Wow.
This is pretty close to where the seems to say the stream is. But if you were to come into the freshwater lens here, say, you would be having a constant stream of water into here, which would keep this replenished,
Mm-hmm.
and you would be pulling out from more or less an underground reservoir, an
So,
underground pond. It's not really a pond. It's
right,
actually the water is held in the coral, but you'll be pulling
right.
from here. You might very well get more water than you can ever imagine getting from this setup because a lot of the water goes underground. See, if this is a
Mm-hmm.
problem,
Mm-hmm.
they need to find out exactly where the problem
Where
is,
where the
and
pollution is. So
they'll
this
find that
all of
out
this
by finding out
water,
exactly
but
where
Mr.
contaminated,
Murray,
where.
Mr. Knox, Mr. Knox, my question and comment is that all of this water, I mean, there's so much water I'm hearing about here. This is for the farmers, supposed to be for the farmers in that area, right?
I'm not hearing you.
I was asking if the
I'm
water,
not hearing you.
not hearing at all. Anybody, can you hear me, Mr. Murray? Okay. So I was
I'm hearing now. I'm hearing now.
okay. I was
I'm
saying that
hearing
the
now.
water, it's a lot of water, both underground and above ground, and so it is for farming, for the purpose of farming. So I live in St. Philip, and I'm thinking I would see all of that land there that's close to the spring. And I know of a gentleman who actually has a little farm there, and everything there is just so big. It's like if he grows squash, it's so big and he doesn't have to water it or anything. So I'm thinking that must be where he's
Right.
getting the water supply, the underground water, and also the water that's above ground. But why is it? Why aren't we seeing more farming along that in that area? If there's so much natural water there.
You see, it's limited by the catchment area. But let's look and see what the farming look in the area looks like now. So this is what
And unfortunately, we have only
this is what the
7 minutes
farming
in
looks
this
like
sector, in this segment. Only 7 minutes left. Go ahead.
area now. There is a lot of farming. Sorry, I missed you. I'm not hearing you.
Okay, I was saying that we have 7 minutes left in this segment.
Hello?
We have 7 minutes left in this segment. I think there's
Yeah.
a delay. It's stuck.
Last thing I heard was there's a delay.
Okay, I was saying that there's 7 minutes left in this segment.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Knox. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Not hearing.
Right. So that that's what I wanted to get across. That A, you've got surface water runoff from the spring, and B,
Hmm.
which may or may not be tapped. Um, it was tapped in the past, and it was tapped in the past for shooting swamp. So each one of these here is a shooting swamp. Okay. So you're hearing me okay?
Yes.
I'm not hearing you.
Not hearing.
Okay, good,
Okay.
good, good, good. So, and the other point I want to make is that this is not brown spawn. Brown spawn is in this area here, maybe
Yes.
even these ponds here. So, but definitely here, a lot of it was what was known as the Suez Canal comes out
Hmm.
into this area here. This area here is brown spawn, not this area.
Right.
This is a pond and river plantation yard.
Marcia,
Yes.
before Mr.
So
Knox
that's
goes, I hope he can hear me. I'd like to ask him a question. I think he's the best person
yes, I can
to
hear you.
answer. Good. The question of convection rain. Now, when I went to commemorate from about second form, 1956, 57, a man called Mr. Laddie's guard taught us about the two types of rainfall in Barbados. So it's relief rain and convection rain. Relief rain is if you have high mountains, the hot air rises, meets the cold surface of the mountain and fall. Convection is when the hot air rises and meets the colder water of the clouds and get with convection rain. That is my understanding. But I've heard the Prime Minister talking about this new phenomenon of convection rain. And as far as I know, we have always had convection. We might have it now more frequently because of the heat. But am I right in my understanding that we have always mostly had convection rain in Barbados because of topography, etc. And as again, it's just a new phenomenon because of climate change, but climate change has
Mm.
accentuated and accelerated the process. Did you hear me?
I am not a believer in climate change. I think climate goes, yes, I can hear you. I believe climate goes in cycles. Um,
Right.
so you can get, there's data on rainfall in Barbados going back to, I think, 1847. And you can see that the maximum rain on average that you get is 60 inches a year. The minimum is 40 inches a year. Now, a couple of years ago, I think we had, or last year, we had, no, I think maybe a couple. Anyway. Very recently, we had like under 40 inches of rain, which was a bit unusual. But then we've had 60 inches a year, of rain a year. You know, it all goes in cycles. Um, so I
Yeah,
don't
but
know
could you clarify me? But
if I would
if
tell
I
you I don't
understand the
really.
convection rain, what causes convection rain?
I can understand what you're saying that the heat from the earth rises. I can understand what you're saying. I believe if you go
Yeah,
Right.
he's having some problems there.
Okay. But
He's
we'll leave
having
it for
some,
another time.
if
yes.
you go to the upper elevations of Barbados, you'll find that's where the most rainfall is. So you've had as much as I think 15 inches of rain in 3 days up in the Mount Stepney area. Up on Hamilton's Cliff in 1780, there was a tremendous 1785, there was a tremendous amount of rain and caused a landslide. 1901 was the Mount Stepney Boscobel area was inundated. So we've had extremely dry years and we've had extremely wet years. In 1951, I believe they had so much rain in February in the dry season, that
Mhm.
there was flooding throughout the island. A lot of the Scotland district was washed out. Crop had to be stopped. Everything was inundated, and that's in February. And that's the only time I've seen like something really unusual happen. That amount of rain in the month of February, 1951. You can look at. I think there's a site that has the Advocate magazine, Advocate newspaper from the 50s. And if you look in 51 in February, you will see an account of what happened in that time. It, the hurricanes that we have had before are dwarf some of the hurricanes that have passed us here. So there's a 1780 hurricane that was tremendous. It destroyed more or less everything. There's the 1831. I think the 1898 was pretty severe too. Janet really was not a huge hurricane, but by the time it passed us, it strengthened and became one of the strongest hurricanes on record. Beryl was also very strong, Ivan, but the real huge hurricanes that we have had have occurred centuries ago. It's not
Wow.
to say they can't reoccur, but that's why I don't really have much faith in the climate change. People who basically speak of climate change. I think it's more like the weather goes in cycles,
Yes.
and some years it's very wet, some years it's
Hmm.
not so wet.
Hmm.
And
It'd be good
yes,
to have you.
there's
I would
different
love to
types
have
of
you on.
rainfall. I would agree.
I would love to have you on to. I love when you started to talk about the history of these hurricanes. I think it would be great to have you on to go through that because, and I love how you say, oh, you talk about climate change, that it's not unusual. It's cyclical, and I think I like that. We should have a conversation about that. I think that is more, for me at least, I understand that more than to just get up is almost like this new thing that is happening. But what you're saying, what makes sense to me is that it goes in cycles.
Yes,
And
Martha. If I may add, in my same physical job, I read about the ice ages, where the Earth was covered. Ice is the opposite of what's happening now, and cover all the mountains and valleys that are all over the world. So it goes and comes. So what we're talking about will be followed by something else. Am I right, Mr. Knox?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
probably
think
not.
I think there's something called El Nino and La Nina. So
Right.
they're all driven by temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. Now, the sun. If you go and look, if you Google the sunspot activity, you will see this year it's expected to, or maybe it has already. I haven't looked at it recently, to get a lot worse, much more active. So obviously, if the source of energy is the sun, there's not much, and that is the reason. Well, drastically,
Yeah.
there's not much mankind can do about the sun except pray to God. He just
Correct.
is deluding himself. Like, you get me?